to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another hour of exciting and insightful conversation, and I cannot wait to get started with all of you. Let us take a moment and reflect on why we are the Goldilocks community and what are we trying to accomplish as part of this community. What comes to your mind when you reflect? To me, it reminds me of the innate skills and abilities I had as a child to influence others and understand how they are triggered and what motivates them so that I can accomplish what I want at the same time, not harming the others. Because when people are happy to be a part of something, what I want gets accomplished. Somewhere along the way as adults, we tend to forget that. And so how do we recapture that? And how do we get back to unleashing our inner Goldilocks so that we can be a part of that magic all over again? Research shows that we can only influence 3 levels from where we are. That means if I am coming from my very selfish, self-centered, extreme position of how it affects only me, I can't influence others and I can't get the others to collaborate with me, support me, or help me thrive. But if I am kind enough, humane enough, and empathetic enough to see how other people are being affected by the same scenario that I am concerned about, I am all of a sudden able to take perspective and find the centeredness of the issue at hand. And therefore, I am able to affect 3 levels to the right, 3 levels to my left, and everybody else in the centeredness, thereby magnifying my ability to influence to 7 levels. Why wouldn't I take advantage of that? Isn't that what true leadership is about? How do I ignite and influence the outcome that is going to build prosperity for me and those around us? That is the call to action of leadership. Think about your purpose. Even your purpose sits at the centeredness of what you love, what you're great at, and what the world needs. If you love something and you're great at doing it, but the world doesn't need it, or the world doesn't know they need it, you're never going to drive your economic engine using your purpose. So your true purpose lies where you are able to take perspective and get in the center within yourself of what you love, what you're great at, and what the world needs. Because in that intersection is your lived purpose, your prosperous purpose. As we go into today's conversation, I want us to take 3 ennobling thoughts into the conversation. The first thought I want us to carry in is an ennobling mindset believes in abundance. Remember, your glass is half full and half empty all at the same time. Your mindset is what creates the abundantness and ennobles you to thrive. If I believed my glass was half empty, I am not going to be drinking from it and I am not going to be willing to share. But if I believe my glass is half full, then I can sip from it and I can share it with the others. And all of a sudden, I am creating an environment to collaborate, to influence, and to thrive, not just for me, for everybody around me. It is not a factual error in thinking that my glass is half empty, but it is also factually correct that my glass is half full. So they're both factually correct, but how do we approach it and what is our mindset? That is truly setting ourselves to deal with our abundance. The second ennobling thought I want us to take into the conversation is the fact that kindness is the wellspring of inclusion. If we can't be kind to ourselves and we can't be kind to the others, then there is no place where we can begin to include. And if we're not kind to ourselves, we're not going to include ourselves, we're going to exclude ourselves. And we can't give something to somebody that we ourselves don't have. Remember, we choose, our mindset chooses to be kind. And that kindness is what triggers an entire cascading positive impacts. So where you are, be the soul of that place. Courageously employ kindness to build bridges of inclusion and unleash the hidden magic. It's through kindness that the magic is unleashed. And remember, miracles are kind people doing kind acts to random strangers, and be the wave of that kindness. And when you become the wave of that kindness, you become the soul of the place wherever you are planted. The third ennobling thought I want us to take into the conversation is be the sunlight to disinfect and lead. Authentic leadership is very akin to sunlight. It shines and it disinfects all toxicity to generously ennoble collective thriving. You know, we're just coming out of the pandemic. The best disinfectant is whatever you have, whatever you got by mail, any packages, any groceries you got, wasn't the best thing to leave it out in the sun for half an hour and get the toxicity removed. Then you can bring it into the house and you know everything is clean. When we wash clothes, the best way to dry it is dry it in sunlight. Sunlight is a magical thing that truly disinfects and makes everything shine. Be that sunlight. Be that disinfecting leader who removes all toxicity so that you yourself can thrive and everybody around you flourishes. So as we go into today's conversation, I want you to start thinking about what is abundance mindset? Is emotional investing in relationship worth it? And to have this exciting conversation with me is a co-author of our upcoming book, Ennobling Business for Success, Precious Fuller. Precious, welcome to the episode.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Super excited to have you, Precious. And let me give you a very brief introduction to Precious, and then she is going to talk to us about what she does and how she is transforming the world around her. Precious Fuller is the CEO of Equanimity Partners International, a human equity management consulting firm. Precious helps companies improve their workplace culture and maximize their employee potential through leadership training and retention strategies. She believes in supporting culturally competent leaders who are engaged and motivated to deliver exceptional results at every level of their organization. Precious is an expert in employee training and retention, diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and leadership development. She has a master's degree in teaching and work experience in education, as well as inside a national nonprofit organization environment. In her role of human equity management, Precious works to establish diverse and inclusive cultures in support of all humanity. Precious, as we get started, talk to us a little bit about what got you to the point from teaching to inclusion and diversity and equity, and how did you manage that transition? Because I'm sure people are all wondering, how does one transition and transform?
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited as I see all the faces of my friends and my colleagues in this movement. And a transition for me is just really living authentically. And so when you finish in one space or you feel the call, the pull to something different, you answer it. But what happens in either space, you're taking your whole self. And my soul health, my whole self was already developed before I left. So before I left one space to go to the next. So my belief system already comes with me, and you're implementing who you are in every space. So whether it was in teaching, whether when I moved to a nonprofit, then moved on to work independently, my call was outside of just where I was. So realizing, okay, it's time to stretch. You either stay cocooned or you stretch. You develop your wings. And sometimes you do not, well, you don't know anyway how far and wide your span will take you. You just are willing to do so. So it's answering the call, being humble and bold at the same time, and knowing that what you need to take with you to the next place, you already have it. It's just how will it be implemented in this new environment, but you already have it. So the transformation, it's just a matter of answering your internal call and being excited about the journey.
Beautifully said. And what resonated for me, Precious, is the fact that you combined being humble and bold. Most people think that if you're bold and you're daring and you're courageous, then you're not humble, you're arrogant. There's a difference.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk to us about it so that folks can understand how you see the two coming together, being humble and bold, and how they can truly take that and integrate it into their world as they grow and stretch and transform.
Yeah, absolutely. Humility is huge to me, and wherein some who may not have an accurate understanding may think it means weakness. Oh, but it's so much strength. It's a choice, and it's also an understanding that you are forever the student. You are continuing to learn throughout the ceaseless ages. As long as you're alive, you are learning. You are able to observe and grow, and you realize the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know, because there's so much more. There's so many more perspectives. There are more people. There are more environments, and then there are ways of looking at things that you have not even. There's just so much you don't know fully. But with humility, you can begin the learning process. With humility, you can receive the value that other people bring to the table. With humility, you can not talk all of the time and allow someone else to, so you can be shared with and learn. Bold is being courageous. I think there's courage in humility too, because sometimes we want to assert ourselves so much. We need people to know who we are and what we know, because we need to have validation. We need to be respected in a way that is commanded. But with humility and boldness at the same time, you speak without saying a word. Your presence says something because you're content to be. You're not trying to prove anything. But the boldness, there are times you have to step out, and some can call that a measure of faith. You don't have every step calculated. If you do, you just won't do things. You'll wait forever until things feel maybe perfect, and I don't know when that happens. But the humility part, that's your humanity part, and being able to recognize you're part of a whole. The sun doesn't just rise and set on you. It's not just on your thoughts and perspectives and what you bring to the table, but you're a part of something bigger. And in recognizing that, and then being bold enough to operate in that space effectively, that's a dynamic duo combination. The humility that needs to go before your learning process and your continual growth process, and yet the courage to step into something new, the courage to do something new. All of those two together, I think those are powerful pieces.
Brilliantly said, Precious. And true, courage is truly a leadership quality that is willing to take the chance while being vulnerable. And humility is free of ego. The last couple of weeks, our guests have been talking about the importance of leaving our ego out when we enter a space. And I'm so glad to hear you're reinforcing that and the importance of that to truly allow our humanity to surface and therefore thrive. So thank you. Thank you so much for bringing that nugget of wisdom into the conversation. Now, one of the things you talk about is the risk of taking making an investment in relationships, right?
Yes.
And as a leader, the courage and the humility to take that risk and invest in somebody because you're putting them first, not yourself first. But it doesn't always pan out. And that's why it's a risk. So talk to us about when you work with clients, when you work with organizations, or when you look at yourself, what are some of the tips you give yourself and others on how to build this right? Because we are social creatures. We only thrive when we have a tribe. How do we build that, and how do we build it right?
Right. Yeah, that is big, because that courage we speak about and that vulnerability at the same time, it's risk taking. And when you give yourself the humility you need to observe and learn and grow, it equips you more to take the risk, because you don't always know what will come back from it. That's why it's a risk. But also, if you are strong enough with the humility and yet the courage as well, you can handle what comes. There's a saying, the only thing we say something is too much. We're like, oh, this is too much. I can't take it. The only thing that's too much is death. Everything else we can take. Now, it's a matter of how we handle it and what we allow it to develop in us. But the risk can be well worth it. And I'm going to say, oftentimes you don't see the dividends yet. You're going to have to take some time. Can we stand to be uncomfortable a little bit? Can you stand to be uncomfortable? Sometimes a lot of it. I'll make that phrase up. But there are times you have to be willing to be uncomfortable and to be vulnerable and to have a space of the unknown, because everything is not calculated. We are not math equations. We are people that move, we transform, we adjust, we adapt and grow. Someone dear to me just said yesterday, and it was so powerful, we cannot put people in boxes with a lock on it, because they can change. Sometimes you can put people in a space because of past behaviors, and it's like, okay, this is where you fit. This is just how I'm going to have to handle you. And then they surprise you in a way that is like, wow, I'm humbled. So the thing is, when we take risks, we allow for some uncomfortableness, we allow for not knowing. And as we continue to feed that properly, and we plant good seeds, we run the risk of something phenomenal. There are times when you start something new or in a leadership position working with people, and they may or may not get you yet. They may or may not like you yet. They're wondering who you're about and what you're going to offer, or what you may try and take from them. But if you're authentic, and if you're real, that's authentic. And if you genuinely care for others, that's going to come out. And eventually, even without you saying it, they're going to see you. They're going to see you, and their walls will come down, and they're going to have to say, oh, she's all right. Okay, okay. And in turn, you get to see some of the same in others, because sometimes they have their walls up as well. But the risk is so well worth it when at the root of it is, I genuinely care. And given enough time, you're going to see that. And if you genuinely care as well, or are receptive to the growth in this space that we're creating, because it's going to be for the good of everyone, you included, you maybe namely, we're starting there. It's going to be seen, felt, and heard. So the risk is worth it when you make it with the root cause being, I genuinely want the betterment of whatever it is that we're investing in. People see you. Now, not everyone may choose to receive because they have that choice. We can talk about that later, but they see you. And as they see your goals and your direction, sometimes nothing but respect. And it's not so much just for you. You may get the benefit of it. People give it to you, but it's so much bigger than you, because the truth of the matter is not you, because we didn't create truth. But that's something else I'll speak about later. But yeah, I'll stop there. I think that may have answered. If not, I can clarify.
Absolutely. And in order to get to a place where you're talking about, where you are able to be vulnerable and you're able to show up authentically, it requires you to start with an abundance mindset. It requires you to bring into the forefront that abundance approach, because you're not afraid. You're not going to believe that you're going to deplete. Somebody's going to take away everything that you are and what you bring to the table. How does one show up with an abundance mindset? And the part two I want you to touch on is, what if the rest of the group is not in a place of abundance? They are in such scarcity mentality that they do not see the forest for the trees, because they believe that's their lived experience, especially in a world where women in most societies are just now entering certain spaces. And where there were no women, now they're allowing one or two women to get in. And so it is almost like a quota or a assigned position. And if I help another woman up, then I am going to be knocked out of the seat. And that scarcity mentality seeps in certain cultures, in certain genders, in certain situations. And how do you help people overcome that?
Okay. I'm going to start with the saying that I've seen. It was on the shirt. I am enough. I just am. I am enough. And as I recognize that for me, I can recognize it for you in the space that who you are already, you are enough. And then I'll compare this, make this analogy with the cake. We are the whole cake. There are times our talents or our abilities are highlighted and are seen, and we might identify with them so strongly, but that's the cherry on top. We are already enough in our existence and our humanity. But until we accept and understand that, we're always trying to prove. We need so much validation, verification. We need accolades. We need people to see me, hear me, recognize me. But if I recognize it first, I present in that space, then I'm already enough. But if I'm not convinced of that, then there will be other tools I'll use. There may be other people I try to step on a little bit because I need to make sure, like I'm clawing my way to see me. So I have to make sure you don't get too far in the picture. And when you're working with people that are not there yet, which is often always the case, when are we always all on the same page at the same time and in the same way? It's so critical, though, you treat them with that truth, the truth that I'm enough and you're enough, and we're going to take it higher. We're going to put a lot of cherries on top, but we already are starting at the base of being enough. And sometimes what we want to do and where we want to go, we want to get there now. But we don't get there and stay there without the investment of handling now. So wherever we are and wherever our people are, we have to get that into the space, into the atmosphere, and let it be breathed in and drink the water of being enough and knowing that I am valuable to you. Let's say if I'm an employee or a worker or a teammate, just because of who I am. Once I believe that, there's no limit to how far that can take us in our relationship. There is no limit. If you've never seen loyalty, just let someone think that you really value them and are invested in them. If you want to see peace where we're not clawing, just let it be felt and known that I know you value me. I don't have to try so hard to be. So I'm not creating disturbances. There's a peace that comes about from that. And all of that is love as well. Love for self, humanity, others, when we treat each other with that knowledge. So there takes some investment in ourselves first before we get to that table to recognize who we already are. It's not because of what people say I am or who they say I am. It's what do I say? And then as I live that out, people feel that in the interactions that we have. So my team, if you work with me long enough, if I work with you long enough, that's just going to be infused in everything we do. And we're able to go to the next level in a different way than just trying to race to the top. We are creating the top. And then we just elevate together. So it's important. We've got to know truth first of who we are and then who one another is. And then we take that with us on a journey that is just really beyond what we can even plan for. It exceeds our expectations.
Mm-hmm. I love the cherry on the top analogy, Precious, because we are each enough and we were each created for a specific purpose. And we just need to stand in our purpose and embrace it with courage and vulnerability, mm-hmm. so that we invite others to join, knowing that not everybody is going to be ready, right? Not everybody is going to be ready, but when they are ready, they will. So keep the door open for people to join, right? And that is the trick. Don't judge. Keep the door open. So when you take this journey for yourself and you transform and you get to the place where you are, if you were to list 3 things that truly helped you anchor and draw from to become this person who's truly comfortable in themselves, who truly embraces the belief that I am enough, and I am vulnerable enough to learn and grow, And I'm humble enough to accept when I have been enlightened, right? So that takes a certain journey. And if you were to attribute 3 reasons or 3 things that helped you get there and be who you are today, what would those 3 be?
Wow. And I just jotted them down while you were speaking. So I don't know if it's in any particular order, but I will say love. That's one. My name is Precious. So I was precious to someone, at least. So knowing coming into a space, this world is what it is. And I would say it's different for each of us, but I don't know. At some point, it's going to still have its crooks and its turns and its challenges. Even early on, let's say, even as a baby, they're not picking you up and you're wet or you're lonely and you're not able to get your needs met. So at some point, just by living, you're gonna need opportunity to feel the security of love. When you get it, it's transforming. I don't. It's like water. You're not able to grow effectively without it. You've got to get it. Thankfully, I did have it. I had love. I was precious to more than someone the people who were critical in my life and in my development. So that love gave me a base for believing what they saw in me, that I was valuable, special, and precious. Another is challenge. You're gonna have some challenge, and I've had challenge. It's called life, and it's called growing up in environments that may not value you, being a part of systems that may not see you or as equal or as whole as they compare you to whatever the standard is. It's just challenge that could come from just experiences in your personal life, sometimes even internal. You're going to have challenge. And then as you manage those challenges, I think that has definitely equipped me, but it tag teams on with knowledge. I need to know who I am, whose I am, why I'm here, what I'm here for. And it doesn't mean that you have all of those answers readily. It just means you have enough of them to feel that you are steady on your feet. So I've grown up with love. I've had challenge that I've in the process of still, overcoming. It doesn't mean that's gone. And the knowledge, though, that helps me handle challenge, to know that challenge happens, but I'm enough. I'm already the whole cake. Now, how I handle it might just be the cherry on top, but I'm enough. I'm here. I'm here for a reason. I'm valuable. I'm loved. And it really, a lot of that starts with me because I got it at a critical time when I was younger. So now I may not have to hear it all of the time. I may not have to be validated in someone else's eyes. If I say I'm enough, then that's what matters. So being able to have received those lessons in life and in youth, and then having knowledge to process things as they happen. I can't make it all make sense, but the things I can make sense, the things I can understand, having that knowledge and realizing that it's not just me, it's all of us. We're all here together trying to do the best we can. And sometimes we do well, sometimes not so much, but we try again. We're all just trying to do, when we're aware, we're doing the best we can with what we have at that time. And as we learn more, we are able to implement more, do more, think deeper, higher, out of the box. So those 3 things, I would say love, knowledge. Well, love, I'll put it in order that I shared: love, challenge, and knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And those are well-placed drivers of transformation, because every creature naturally gravitates towards love. I mean, how many times we watch shows on National Geographic where a mother deer passed away and the baby deer is there, whether it's a cow or a tiger, some other creature mother takes them in even when they are the natural predator, because it is in the universe's laws that love is inherent, right? And so why fight something that is already there in every creature, in every soul? Why not embrace it? And I love that you started with love. And challenge, to me, that is the difference between carbon and diamond. It's chemically the same thing. Challenge puts you under pressure and polishes you to sparkle to your brilliance. And it was a brilliant way of incorporating that. And then obviously knowledge as we learn, as we grow. So all three things without faith, belief in something greater, doesn't give you the ability to check your ego at the door. It doesn't give you the ability to show up with humility. So talk to me about the importance of faith. I'm not talking religion, I'm talking faith and spirituality and believing in something greater that allows us to truly not just see our humanity, but see our shared humanity, that it doesn't matter what wrappings we come in. Because once we take the skin and the hair and all the external features, inside runs red blood. We're all biologically the same.
Absolutely.
That is different. So talk to me about the place of faith in this journey and how faith allows us to have the courage to take the chance and have the humility to check the ego at the door.
It's so funny. I just feel inside, because this is confirmation. When I was getting my thoughts together, I didn't know what you were going to ask, but one of the analogies I came up with, but I just didn't know how to implement that. And it wasn't necessary because you just did it. I was thinking about animals and how one group can raise another one. And you used that example. You didn't know that. There was no telepathic knowledge from me to you, but that was just an example on the form of animals even, and how they function in that way. And like you say, even if they're the predator. So that was just confirmation that you said that exact thing and said it so beautifully, when that was what was in my mind earlier, even before we started, as to how it explains some things as it pertains to love. And then the faith part, and I like how you say it's not about religion. Those can be so confining, in the sense that I'm not against them, but if we have to bring it down to fit us humanly. But with faith, it's not bringing something down to fit our beliefs and norms and structure already within the culture that we have. No. That takes us out of who we are and it expands us. So many times we try to compartmentalize things into what we believe, and we don't necessarily believe what is. We make what we believe fit. So we will take whatever our belief system is to just fit whatever and whoever we already are. Faith takes us out of that. It allows us to be vulnerable. It allows us to not know all of the answers, but recognize there is more beyond us. For me, that is everything. It's everything. There are things that are far beyond me. There are things that I don't understand. There are sufferings in this world that are overwhelming. And then there's recognition that there's still love out there, that someone else loves this person even more than I'm able to. There was a case not too long ago, actually recently, there was a lady who shared some experiences with me. We just happened to be in the space, and one thing led to another. And sometimes as you open up a little bit of Pandora's box and you feel you're in a safe space, you may share even more than you intended to originally. And she did, and she's in a spot. And there were things I'm just wondering, wow, if only, or if only I could help. How could this be so that this person and her family could be safe? This is a big, bad world sometimes, and I want them protected, cared for. And just my desire for her, my prayers for her, that she didn't have to know anything about. Shortly thereafter, things started happening. People were offering space and safety in ways to her. And I'm in my mind, as I learned about it, I'm just wanting to tell them, thank you. Because you're doing that for me too. You're doing what I was not equipped to do at this time, but it didn't have to be me. I just needed to be done. And that's part of my faith, knowing that this is bigger than me. Other people are equal to me and I to them, no matter what our circumstances are at that time, the value of who they are, they're already a whole cake, but they're going through things. We all have different challenges. And just being a part of a humanity where that matters, that gives you something that you need to keep the journey, because you can feel it. Because sometimes we don't share with people that we don't feel safe in. When there are times we allow our guards down, even unknowingly. There was a funeral I attended years and years ago, and I was just holding it together. was an older lady had passed, and we had developed such a nice relationship. And she had been in a nursing home for a while. She used to always tell me about her knees, and I would go to her every week. I would see her weekly, and I'd listen to that same story like it was the first time, because it was just our connection. She was happy to share it, but we developed our relationship. And when she passed, that thing hurt me. And I remember being in the space in the funeral, and I was just making it. But someone who knew of our relationship, everyone didn't know. I wasn't sitting with the family. So, and not everyone knew, but someone across the church, we were in the church, she knew me and she remembered us. And she looked at me and she said, I would mouth it for you, but for those who are listening, are you okay? And all it took, and I said, I had to get myself together, because in that instance, you saw me, you recognized my connection, my love, my need for this person, my connection, my appreciation rather, because she had passed. But just knowing that you cared about how I felt in this moment, it made more of how I felt come to the surface. So when we're in safe places and when people care about us, it gives us an ability to be real, and it helps us to heal. And so faith is I would say it's acknowledging the space of more, acknowledging the space of bigger, and allowing us to grow and rise and fill out larger spaces, and allowing others to do so too. So to me, it's the obvious, but it's what many may say is not able to be proven. And it's being able to accept the obvious and yet the unprovable, because I don't have to prove it. I can live it, I can feel it, I can expand and grow, and I can live because of it. If I didn't have that, I don't know who and what I would be, because we need more than what we have. There are times our circumstances don't reflect who we are, what we deserve, nor what we will be. But if you have faith to hold on, this is not it. I still am enough, even though my circumstance may say that I'm not. I'm still enough, even though my people resources may not recognize or give what's needed in this moment. And sometimes I might even be confused about the faith part, like, is this allowed for me? Is this all there is? But being able to know and believe, no, there's more. Whether you understand it or not, you can receive it, you can believe it, you can accept it. That it's not, you can't prove it, but you can't deny it, that there is more, there's bigger than we are collectively. And it's everything for me.
Absolutely. And I come from that same place of knowing that there is something larger. And bouncing off of what you just shared from your perspective, Faith, Precious, to me, faith is also the one thing that allows us to embrace abundance. The faith that there is enough for everybody. In my culture, in my language, I'm translating loosely in English, we say all we need is the faith of a mustard seed, right? Because it has faith that somehow it's going to get planted and it's going to grow. If we had the faith of the mustard seed, we will grow. And imagine a life that is formed in the womb of any creature. The body is formed, but nobody can prove when the life comes in. The same way nobody can tell when the life leaves the body. So when anybody challenges me on proof of faith, I ask them, how do you prove when your life entered your body? How do you prove when it is going to leave? I don't care how certified and licensed and experienced and well-renowned a medical professional is, they can't tell you when you're going to die. They can tell you what the risks are, what cautious steps you can take and what medications you can take, but nobody can predict, right? We can only plan, and without faith and without hope, life is bleak. And so I truly value folks' ability to have faith, and with that faith comes hope. And with that hope comes in a sense of abundantness. So reach out to people who can help you find that faith if you have lost it. I had a very close friend of mine who actually was a successful man. He was in Secret Service. He was a CEO of a company, all of that. But somewhere along the way, he was hurt in a relationship and he couldn't get past it. And no matter how much we tried to help him, he couldn't deal with it because he was somebody who didn't believe in having faith. And when he had no faith, we couldn't give him hope. I just got a call one morning from his attorney that he shot himself and left a note asking the attorney to notify me so that I can notify his sister. And I got the call at work. And I think to myself, oh my Lord, what a loss, what a tragedy. And if there but for the grace of God, what if he had somehow figured out a way to have faith, right? Faith brings hope, hope brings opportunities of abundance, and there is so much more to live for. And so your story reminded me of this gentleman, somebody who's so accomplished, who reached out to me saying, you know what, Cass, I see you doing things in the world. I want to mentor you. You're a young leader. I'm a white male. We don't get opportunities to mentor women and diverse women because we're always concerned about how it'll be received. And you don't come in with a chip on your shoulder. I want to mentor you. And I said, please, by all means. And we became such good friends. When my husband was diagnosed with cancer, he came to Chicago to be with my husband and I to support me. So he had all the love and kindness and generosity, but for the life of him, he couldn't find his faith. And so I share this with the hope that everybody listening will go and dig deep down, reach into your network, figure out a way to tap into that faith, because without that faith, we can't grab onto hope. And without hope, there is no future. So please, if nothing else, invest in building faith, and through that, finding your hope. And then you can tap into your abundance, your vulnerability, and your leadership. So thank you, Precious, for putting that very important nugget of reality and life-affirming approach into our conversation. And with that worldly wisdom, I am going to open this up for a conversation. So I am going to see who in the audience have a question for Precious for us to dig deep into. Wolfgang, go ahead.
Hi, Wolfgang.
Good morning, Dr. Cass. Good morning, Precious. I was just loving your discussion and your 3 points, but and I shouldn't say but, and the first one really stuck with me because you talk about love and then you talk about your name. And you said, what I love what you said is somebody must have loved me enough that they call me Precious. Now, that's just such a beautiful statement, because in many cultures, and I don't claim to know the cultures, but I know many people that are from Turkey. And in Turkey, for the most part, everybody's name has a very special meaning. So if you ever meet anybody from Turkey and they give you their name, always ask them, what's your name mean in your, because they got some really, I got friends who are called warriors, who are called faithful, that are called loving. And I just, that I love that what you said about that. So that you felt love and somebody in your family must have said, this is just a precious child, So kudos to you. And then in the topic of faith, I was listening to somebody recently, and he was not in a church situation, but he says, the farmer shows a lot of faith when they plant a seed, because they have that faith that seed's going to be fed, and that seed's going to grow, and it's going to be able to feed a lot of people. So that goes into the discussion about faith, hope, and abundance. So I didn't really have a question. Just wanted to comment those two things because it really struck me as the preciousness of your name, and also the fact that we gotta have that faith that the farmer has. Either is the mustard seed or the corn seed or whatever other seed that's going to grow and provide the abundance that we all need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that share. That inspires and ministers to me as well. For one, true, yes, someone did see value. Not everyone did, but I get to choose what I believe. I'm going to believe what the naysayers say that well, sometimes they used to play in school. They say it must have been opposite day when they named you, the elementary days, just ha-has. And then, or I can believe that I'm really something to someone. I get to choose, and I choose that I am. And then the part about the seed, it just makes me think how much that emphasizes faith. Because whenever we plant something or whenever something begins as a seed, we don't know how or if it'll develop. But we give it love and attention and affection. And we're hoping, even let's say if you have a newborn, you're hoping that you're giving the baby enough milk. Are they functioning properly? Are they going to sleep well? You're nurturing, you're caring. When you water your plants, you're hoping you're not overwatering, but you're watering them enough so that they will grow. There's such a hope and a faith in anything we nurture. And that faith and hope, that's faith that it will grow and be. And we have in my culture too about a mustard seed faith. And I've seen a mustard seed, I think before for the analogy, and it's very tiny, but it's such a strong belief. And the cultures we have today are shaped on someone's belief, even when they were not true. So if beliefs can take shape and take form and shape cultures and systems, and they're not even based on truth, how much more when you have just a mustard seed of what is true, and you allow that to grow and can't think of a word big enough, but just to flourish. Maybe that's it. That's just beyond words, and it takes us beyond ourselves. So I thank you for sharing that, because just anytime there's a seed, there's an amount of faith and hope as we care for it, hoping that it'll develop, because your flowers can die. They can, something can happen, may not be enough sun. Anything we plant, it does not have to flourish, but it can as we give it that nurturing and we have the faith and hope that it will. So I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing.
No, thank you, Precious.
I am loving this conversation, Wolfgang and Precious, and the image that comes to my mind, when you are with a child, don't they just come and jump onto you? They leap. As a child, as a puppy, as a kitten, as a infant of any creature, we have the faith that somebody is going to catch us. Somebody is going to grab us with love, and they're going to make me laugh, and they're going to make me enjoy the moment. And I'm going to run and go and jump. Somewhere along the way, we lost that. We were born with it. We were inherently born with it. And just like other human characteristics we forget as we grow into adulthood, faith is one of those things sometimes we forget. So it's there. It's already inside of us. So I cannot wait for every one of you to find that and use it as a jumping off point to then build a life of abundance. Mary, I know you had a question or you had some thoughts to share, so go ahead. You've been joining us from Australia, so I truly value you staying up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Cass. Precious, thank you so much. That was so wonderful to get all those golden nuggets from you. The question that I have in mind is, when people experience this awareness, this awakening, that there's something more, that there's enough, but there's that fear, what advice do you have them to embrace that awareness, because they're entering the zone of, they're stepping out of their comfort zone, which will take them to a place of discomfort. So what advice do you have to make sure that they hold in that space and not give up?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a very, very good question. And as I think as to how to form my answer, sometimes I will say just be. Because if you are already stepping into the zone, you're not going to be okay to go backwards anyway. You've already stepped in. You may even be around people that may say, that's foolish, hogwash, but you can't let it go. Be true to yourself. There's a reason you can't let it go. You've stepped into the zone. You have nothing to do with where other people are at that time, but you're there. And even if you say, I'm not gonna fool with it, you can't unlearn what has already come into your mind, into your being. It's there. Honor it, accept it, and you don't have to run fast with it. Just be. And in the midst of being, allow what's to develop naturally. The only thing we can do to harm that is to try to fight against it. Just allow it. And as it takes us further and we're able to receive more and be broader, do so. Try some things, listen to some things, and see what fits, what makes sense. Because I do believe we tend to have an innate truth telling. And there's some, even when people who are a part of organized religion, there are some spaces that it's like, that's not quite, I don't know if I can sign on to that, because there's something in it that may be faulty, because so many harms to humanity have been done under the name of religion. Not just one. I mean, oh my goodness. And that is not that religion in its truthfulness. If it's true and if it's edifying to humanity, that is just what people have used to say who they are. You can call yourself anything. I can call myself a bird and make me so. So you can say anything, but the truth of that religion, if there's some truth in it, what you have done and justified it, the evil you've justified by, that's all that is. That's just manipulation of things. But the truth of things, as you allow yourself into greater awareness and step into it, I just say be. Allow yourself to be and try to block out the noise. Just be and allow the truth of what is and the fact that you're enough to make your decisions at this point, let that be enough to take you the next leg of the race. Because and I appreciate you saying there will be some discomfort. If we can't be comfortable with discomfort, we can't grow. We have to allow for some discomfort in life. Like, are we tough enough? Can I handle it? If not, I stay where I am and I stay weak. But if I say, well, it's uncomfortable, I don't like it, but I have some faith, I'm not going to stay here always, because I can't live like this. I can't stay here always. Even if certain circumstances may not always change, I do, we can. So we don't allow that to hinder us. We allow ourselves to keep growing. But I thank you so much for that. Let me be quiet in case someone else has a question or a point. I appreciate these so much.
Love
that
the
helps.
question. Thank you so much, Mary. And your conversation reminds me of Rumi. Rumi is a Persian poet who talks about, if you are so disturbed by every rub, when will you ever get polished? Think about that. Carbon becomes diamond only under pressure. It's the discomfort that polishes us. And if we don't want to be put in a place of discomfort, and if our mothers believed that, we wouldn't be here. I didn't jump into this world from the sky. My mother had to carry me to term with morning sickness and everything else, right? So if we can just remember where we came from and the discomfort our respective mothers went through, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether they did right by us or not, that doesn't matter. They had the faith and they had the love and they carried us to term. I use this example in the office too. When people want results right away, I'm like, okay, were you born in 2 seconds, in 2 weeks? No, we just decided to get pregnant. We haven't gotten pregnant and you already want to change your mind. Decide, get pregnant, carry the baby to term. That is our initiative. We got to bring it to term. And yes, there are going to be growing pains. There are going to be discomforts. If we can truly embrace our own truth, in that truth is the need to be able to transform with that discomfort. So before we go any further, Precious, I want you to take a moment and share with everybody how they can reach you, how they can find you, and how they can engage with you, because I don't want to miss out that opportunity if we run out of time.
Thank you. Thank you. One way is to reach out on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/N, you know, the preface for all of that. Then Precious Fuller equanimity. Let me see. I have to look at it. I'm going off my mind and I had something else prepared. Let me just tell you this. Let's go with equanimitypartnersinternational.com. That's my website. I'll give you the LinkedIn as well too. But EQUANIMITY partners INTL.com. Equanimity is all about balance and peace amidst chaos. Imagine that. So equanimity partners INTL.com. And then let me write my LinkedIn so it'll make sense. LinkedIn.com /N Precious Fuller hyphen diversity hyphen equity hyphen inclusion hyphen specialist. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
and
you
you'll
for
be
that.
able to reach me either way. And then, there's a website my email, I will say, one of the ones that I love, and it has a message in its name, empowered, ending with a D, empowered to live well at gmail.com, empowered to live well at gmail.com. And I want to just jump in 2 points really quickly. When you mentioned about faith, I want to say there are things we believe in now that we don't fully understand. I know a little bit about aerodynamics. When I say little, I mean a little bit. I know it exists, but I still, when I get in an airplane, for them to carry me to where they say they're going to carry me, and I'm not on the ground in wheels rolling, that's a level of faith for me. And I don't really love it. I'll fly. I don't love it. And I really don't love those air pockets. I'm the only one on the plane look like dripping for the seat when when there's a dip. And I look around, other people are asleep, they got their mask on, they're not even worried, but I'm reaching. But there's a measure of faith every time I get on that airplane. I'm looking in the cockpit, the pilots, they seem like they're good, everybody's good, they know what they're doing. I'm looking at everyone else because I'm trying to take it all in. It's not my safest space, but I have faith that I'm going to get there, guys, or I wouldn't get on there. So my point is, there are things in life that don't have anything to do maybe with spirituality that we have faith in and we do every day. I'm now in a busier city than I once lived. There's a lot of traffic. There are a few times someone came up past me, and I feel like I'm a good defensive driver, and I did not see you and you were so quick. That could have been an accident. I didn't even know. I had my signal on, or I was about to veer, and I did not see you. And you came out of nowhere very quick and fast. Like the faith that I'm going to get there every day. There are accidents often on the way to work, but I'm not in one so far. I'm thankful. I'm grateful for that. So there is faith when we do things. Sometimes we may not always stop to think about it and realize, this is bigger than me. This is a big thing. But we have faith in everyday situations. We may not always call it that, but the plane is a good one for me. And then the other point, when you talked about discomforts, that's humility and being able to be rubbed. How many rubs before you become polished? Who loves the rubbing? I don't, but it requires humility to take a message from that and realize, maybe I could have done that differently. Or I can see how this came across. Or, because those are times that our greatness can grow as how we handle the discomfort. We're not able to avoid it, but how we handle it. And so if we deny it, it's all about the other person, not me. This situation was wrong. It's never me. I'm great. I'm perfect. I'm whole already. I am whole in the sense of a person, but there's always growth. I never finish. But when I allow for that, it takes humility. And if not, I guess that would just be arrogance. And it
Thank
keeps
you
me where
so
I
much,
am.
Precious. Thank you. Thank you so much for those 2 closing thoughts. And I know folks know how to get a hold of you. So I hope that you all continue this conversation with Precious long beyond and more than anything else. Mark your calendars, October 5th, the book is launching. You can read all about what Precious has shared today and the topics from other authors. You do not want to miss the opportunity for ennobling your own leadership and your own organization success. And as we've been talking today, embrace the sense of abundantness, tap into your faith, allow that to be the wellspring of hope, and build valuable human relationships, because those are worthy investments. And these human relationships, every one of them is going to be the source of your transformation and the source of transforming the world around us. So thank you very much, Precious. Thank you so much to our audience. Go out there and transform lives. And in this process, please be sure to get polished and transform yourself.